Salutations, dear viewers. This is George from Ireland, and here I am teaching you about IELTS. IELTS academic reading. So here are some important tips. You don't need to know every word. The texts themselves can be quite daunting. I'll show you some very sophisticated visuals. Here you are. Okay, so fairly long and dense text. Some vocabulary you will not understand, but that's not a problem. You don't need to know it all. So you would go through that very quickly, and then look at the questions. Here are some questions, for example, and then you find the necessary information. You see the question. There's a table to fill in, and it's labelled the space as 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And so you then go back to the reading text, and you would try to find the necessary information. So they're words that you do not understand. If they're not needed for the answer, then just ignore them. Only look for the information that you need. That's vital. Don't waste time trying to understand everything. It is not necessary. Now, you don't answer on the question sheet, you'll answer on a special answer sheet, which I don't have with me today. So that's another classic mistake people make. They sometimes answer on the question sheet. That is wrong. Answer on the answer sheet. This is the question sheet I'm showing you. Look at the instructions very, very carefully. Read the instructions. No more than 3 words from each passage. Did you notice that? It said not more than 3 words from each passage. It could be 2. Did you notice that? It's worded very subtly, not more than 3. That could be 2, that could even be 1. So the instructions are more confusing than the questions. So that's what's very tricky about IELTS. It's the instructions are harder than the questions. Could be 3 words, could be 2, could be 1. You might have to repeat them. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It could be just 2 words. It could even be just 1 word every single time. I don't know. We're not going through it. So think very carefully about the instructions and then put them on your answer sheet. Other things to know about this. So there are trick questions. In another sheet, for example, it had multiple choice questions. So there's a question and there are 4 possible answers, multiple choice. And you have to choose between A, B, C, or D. 4 possible answers for each question. Now sometimes 2 of the options will be very similar. So if there are 2 options which are very similar, it's probably one of those 2. One option is completely wrong in one direction, the other option is obviously very wrong in the other direction, and 2 are very similar. So if you don't have time, you might have to guess between one of those 2. It might express the same information 2 different ways. In the text, it might mention 20%. But in the optional answers, it might have an answer which is 1/5. Of course, 1/5 and 20% are the same thing, but some candidates don't realise that, don't get mixed up, don't even know what 1/5 is. So that is a sort of thing to be aware of. If you have time, check later. Go back and check your answers, see if there are any mistakes, is there anything you left out. If you're not sure and you're running out of time, just guess. This is not negative marking. If you guess, you might be right. If you don't guess, you've got no chance of getting that right. Negative marking they use in other systems, whereas if you get something wrong, they take away marks from you. They don't do that in IELTS. Use the IELTS website. Go on the official IELTS website. There are a lot of free materials to download and print off, a lot of recordings to listen to for speaking and listening. Obviously, there are additional materials that you can purchase. So there's a saying in English, practice makes perfect. That's it. Practice, 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 and practice again. It's very simple. There's no way around it. The more time you put in, the more times you do it, the better you're going to be. You'll be faster, you'll be more confident, and you'll get a higher score. That's all for the moment about IELTS academic reading.